It is still the absence of a strong tradition in the Philippines that they still look up to the West for some developments to add to our own traditions, which we are creating now. But I'm very sure that in a few more years we have such a tradition strong enough to be a source of inspiration for more generations of artists to come.
Do you think, Mr. Roy, that we have an art market in the Philippines?
The art market of Manila is one of the biggest in Asia. If we keep it like that, and I think it's getting bigger with more international personalities coming in, the market of art in Manila is among the healthiest in the world. It only has not crossed into world consciousness, and I'm afraid that if it does so, there might be a tendency for our artists to commercialize, and I'm afraid that might happen. Without any discipline on the artist, it's possible.
As a student, you dislike to paint landscapes. Why is this?
I did not really dislike the subject per se, but it was the inconvenience of really painting outdoors. During our student days, the campus was not forested the way it is now. So we usually had to paint under the sun without any protection. It was very inconvenient, especially taking along your box of paints, your canvases right under the sun. It was very difficult.
Then you mentioned also that you're basically a studio painter. Doesn't the atmosphere of the studio cramp you?
Well, since I am a conceptual artist, you don't really conceive ideas in the open air sometimes. But what I mean by being a studio painter, everything that I do are created within the four walls of my workshop. What I mean, for instance, by outdoor painters like Matisse, Corot, they really painted in the open. That's merely with reference to a manner of working. So that all my works are created in the physical setup of a studio rather than in the open air.
When you do your painting, would you rather prefer doing it in seclusion? Do you get conscious when people watch you painting?
I have never really painted with people around. A mere movement sometimes is enough to distract the free movement of my thoughts. There was only one time that I allowed observers to actually watch me paint, and that was more superficial because I was demonstrating a manner of creation. It was only for a photographic service that I did that. But I would rather be alone because when I think or conceive of artworks, I do not wish to be disturbed in the trends of my thoughts. And that's the reason why the kind of work I do is essentially demanding of seclusion and aloneness.
In the act of painting, how do you know if the painting is working out just fine, or when do you know if something is wrong about it?
Somehow I feel when a part of a picture is not all right. It just drag on, you know, and somehow, as I was saying, when a painting is done spontaneously, it ends up immediately. I would rather leave a painting by itself if I feel that it is not working out well, because somehow the right feeling and emotions would occur at the right moment. And that's the time I pick up the picture again. And usually when you don't feel like working out on a painting, that's what we say, popularly refer as not inspired, you know, but more really in a mental frame that you are not in a position to alter the picture. Then I just set it aside until the right moment comes. You know, sometimes a picture that is half done becomes transformed into entirely a different picture when the other moments come of revising the same picture.
How do you achieve these violent manifestations of your canvas? I mean, it's rough, it's not smooth. What materials do you use? I
also introduce foreign materials in some of my paintings, like pebbles, ground shells, sand. It gives diversified texture to my paintings. That's why I like to contrast smooth areas with coarse area. That's why some people think that they would love to touch my painting. That's why I suppose that's what they refer to as sensual in my painting. It arouses the tactile sense in the onlookers. So that if only they will not destroy the paintings, I really would invite them to touch and feel the paintings. That's part of reaction to pictures, you see.
Do you have any particular standard colors?
Well, I think all artists have standard palette, but they really get out of their way to introduce new schemes. Although in some cases it's experimental, it works out, sometimes it does not. But more or less there are colors that are always associated with you. For instance, red orange is one I handle quite well, so with blue and green. But violets and so on this area, I really am quite allergic in the sense that I avoid it.
If a painting doesn't work out fine, have you ever destroyed any of your paintings?
Before I destroy a painting, I allow a kind of rest period in the sense that I give that picture a chance. But somehow, if it does not work out, either I cover it again entirely or just totally destroyed it. Before I left New York in 1969, I burned in the incinerator quite a number of paintings, which I thought are not worth saving after several workouts. And also, in the past, I destroyed some paintings rather than pass it off as a Hoya, which I think some artists do.
How do you know when your painting is just right and you wouldn't want to touch it anymore?
That's something difficult. I think nobody can explain when it's just right. You cannot really say in 1, 2, 3, 4, these are the elements that make it right. But somehow the totality is there, you feel it.
How essential is drawing to painting?
That's quite a general question, but to some painters, of course, the painting per se would be the more qualitative product to discuss. But excellent artists are also excellent draughtsmen. And whether the actual drawing appears in the painting or not is not important at the particular picture. But somehow drawing as an activity is very essential. And artists, good artists, really love to draw whenever possible. Because drawing is the structure on which the painting rests on. And drawing has the basic elements of composition. The mere fact that you draw a line across a canvas is already drawing in painting, see? And it divides your space already into 2 parts and so on. So actually, whether you use the brush or paints, you are actually drawing sometimes. So that's how essential drawing is for me.
Did you resort to abstraction because you felt that representational painting limited you?
Representational paintings, I thought, were more or less, at the time I was practicing it, was more or less carried to the fullest, and my chances of really leaving a mark would be through an area that is unexplored. And that at the time I was doing abstraction, it was not really a widespread style, so that it gave me the opportunity to express myself better. And I studied it really and pursued it farther than, say, representation. Although my early paintings were done in representational manner, I think it was advantageous on my part to have painted in the representational way before.
I have read somewhere that you exhibited once an empty canvas. What year was this?
That was about in 1959 when I came from the United States. I had a kind of perspective show. It was not really a retrospective, but rather a kind of an exhibit that will show what I've been trying to do in the last 3 or 4 years. And which invited the criticism of a reviewer mentioning that why should I really put up such short expanse of perspective show. But actually it was not a retrospective, but rather a perspective. It's a different point of view compared to a retrospective. And in that exhibition I had an empty canvas exhibited. And precisely that was the point of the reviewer, that the emptiness of my achievement is depicted in that empty canvas. But the point is, I was exhibiting already guts, which is being practiced by contemporary artists now, that the minimal art, they just merely exhibit empty canvases painted white, is I did in 1959 as an exhibit of guts rather than an exhibit of emptiness.
If I recall right, the American artist Rauschenberg did an exhibit of empty canvases himself. What year was this?
This was 10 years after, which actually I saw in New York. He had a series of panels painted white. Although I exhibited one, he exhibited several.
Do you remember any of your teachers in the Cranbrook Academy?
I had one essential teacher only, and I studied under him for 1 year. This is Sultan Setoshi, a Hungarian immigrant to the United States. He was also the teacher of Anita Ho. He was a very good man. although I should say he really did not teach me how to paint, but somehow he was providing the moral support in what I was doing, because more or less I was already formed at the time I was studying under him. He merely provided encouragement, and it was very fruitful and useful at those days.
So do you paint every day as a kind of discipline?
I really do not paint every day. The notion that I work 8 hours a day or more is not really true. That I think more often is more valid. But my actual execution of paintings are never regular. In some cases, I would paint 2 hours a week. In some cases, a month would pass without any work.
But in your case, you start with the composition idea born out and fixed in your mind already. Can you elaborate on that?
When I speak on a definite idea, I mean a pictorial idea. On how I should make a painting. That's the time I make some small studies to concretize this idea. And based on this, I execute the finished painting, but not necessarily resembling actually the sketch. But the finished product is already a free interpretation of this recorded idea. An idea does not necessarily mean a literal idea. It could be other things, like a picture idea. Maybe a sound would be enough to stimulate a pictorial idea, or even a concept. And the idea in pictures is applicable to many, many forms. It could be a concept, could be an object, it could be a mere technique to expand along this idea, and so on.
Do you do your paintings spontaneously?
In some, because it depends on the strength of the idea. If it's very clear, it's done spontaneously again. My best works were done in the most spontaneous manner. But if the idea is rather unclear or vague, it drags on, partly not only because of the scale of the painting, but because the idea is not definitely clear, so that it shapes accordingly, and as the time goes on, it progresses to become a vivid idea. But usually it shows in the picture if this idea drags on. That's why I avoid working on this whenever possible if the idea is not so concrete.
Do you paint even if you don't feel like painting? Do you force yourself to paint?
Well, that's a nice question. My standard manner of operation would be I don't paint when I don't feel. But sometimes if you force yourself in the act of forcing, you get excited into creating something really. So it is variable in my case. It's never a set pattern like working 8 hours. It depends. Sometimes if I feel I've not been working long enough, then that's the time I'm forced to work myself. And sometimes really ideas come out unexpectedly.
What's the biggest painting you've ever done?
The biggest painting would be The Origins, which is the yellow painting you upon entering here in my home. And then the biggest drawing was the one owned by Institute of International Education in New York. That is almost 6 feet by almost 7 feet drawing. This Origins, a yellow painting, would be about 12 feet by about 7 feet in size. Those are the two largest. And the smallest I did of paintings would be about 3 inches by 5. But they carry the same power and feeling according to observers. Whether I paint small or big, they carry the same forceful artistic personality.
With all these abstractions of yours, I think they would not look strange put in a New York gallery. Do you think yours is a Filipino painting? Or has it even occurred to you?
It does not matter really, because in the final analysis, painters are evaluated not on the basis of whether they're Filipino or American. Or you are finally judged whether you are an excellent painter or not. Although, of course, the certain semblance of Filipinism or Orientalism indicated in my works, and these are suspected by even foreigners. When they see my paintings, they know pretty well that it's done by an Oriental, although they cannot pinpoint the Filipino. You know, the Filipinism is something as clear as possibly the way foreigners are clear about Filipinos also. If you are familiar with the Filipino as a people, the painting just goes on with it also, as part of the concept of that Filipino. Now the Filipino is getting popular all over the world, so with their painting. You know, it's a question of associating it with the knowledge of the people themselves.
Do you think that the Philippines will eventually evolve a distinctly Philippine art?
I don't know whether this is to be decided. I would rather let the situation go on. Because if it reaches a point that you can be identifiable, maybe that's the end of it. I think the mystery of art is one you cannot really pinpoint. The more it stays as such, the better, because we just go on. Once you can, based on criteria or define what is Filipino, then I suppose that's already too obvious, and that's the end of it.
Do we have any Filipino painter, to your mind, who most approximates the Philippine spirit?
I don't know whether there's a particular painter who approximates the Filipino spirit. All Filipino painters approximate the Filipino spirit in their varying degrees because of their exposure or their own concept. But actually the Filipino is a representative of all concepts or almost all civilizations. And it's a matter of degree that one particular painter manifests that aspect of the Filipino and so on. To say that a particular painter is the most Filipino, perhaps it's not fair that then another Filipino whose experiences expands beyond Philippine shore is less Filipino. But I think it's more really a question of how truly the artists love the Philippines. And in most cases, all these Filipinos love their country.
Do you think the kind of Filipino paintings being done now can stand on par with other abstractionists from other countries?
Well, from my own experience, what we lack is the dynamics of perhaps promotion, or the what they usually refer in politics as the logistics of really presenting Filipino artists. The mere fact that our artworks are bought by responsible collectors and art lovers all over the world is indicative of elevation of the Filipino artists on equal par with the rest of the world. The only thing that the Filipino lacks now is the so-called official sanction. And after all, official sanction is a question of time, and the mere fact that we are around accomplishing our own goals with excellence and good performance is no cause for worry whether we are recognized by the Museum of Modern Art or whatever establishment so-called. It is a fait accompli that the Filipinos have arrived as far as self-expression is concerned.
I remember you represented the Philippines in the Venice Biennale a few years back. How do you think the Philippines fared out?
Well, it would be unfair to say the Filipinos compared to the Americans at the time, whether we fared better or not. The fact that we got invited there is already a sign of acceptance, because they will never invite anybody whom they believe has not come out with a certain level. But the mistaken notion that we did not win the grand prize or a minor prize or a so-called is a mistake, because in a festival like this, sometimes 3 years ahead of the contest, they already know which country would be the winner, because it is already prepared somehow. There is that element of politics in it, in all festivals, whether it is sports, cultural. It's the dynamics of really what country can offer possibly in exchange for another is also part of the picture, whether it is cultural or not. So the mere fact that we had a chance to show ourselves was good enough. I'm not trying to accuse that this Biennale had been a prepared or pre-arranged festival with the definite winners already known beforehand. But my point is, in all international activities, there is so-called how much you can give and how much you can take. Well, as far as cracking the international market is concerned, I think I already have a foot inside. It's not only based in New York that the market is, although that's the biggest market. I have paintings in New York of California or South America or even Australia, even as far as Tokyo and London. As far as cracking the international market, I'm going on the international as far as I'm concerned. Even my price level is already international. In fact, a newspaper in Hong Kong branded me as one of the most expensive in Asia, and to indicate that collectors all over the world are getting my pictures. What I mean is, whether I'm represented in the MoMA or the Museum of Modern Art in Paris, it has not come in the sense that perhaps they're not aware of it. What I was afraid is to really crush the full-scale international market. There is a temptation that artists might just water down his work to fill up an international market. So far as marketing is concerned, I'm not worried. More important is really maintaining the quality than increasing the market. Because the market is only following increase of quality.
Do you think you will ever get away from your impastoed canvases?
I have no idea. People can keep on asking me even more radical questions than that, whether I should go back to the figurative painting. If I only knew, then perhaps that loses the mystery of the future in art. But then the speculation is always ever present in art production. There's no way of knowing where I'm leading to. Maybe the impact of another encounter, artistically or otherwise, will change me as a person or as a painter. That we cannot predict.
So you have no idea of what future direction your paintings will take?
Definitely not. As I was saying before, if I knew, then perhaps all artists just make plans for the future, what they will do and how to fill up a market. But unfortunately, nobody knows. But sometimes even successful artists like Rembrandt, who painted portraits of the upperclassmen, had to shift to the life of Christ as subject matter, so that his popularity waned with the upper class then, but he became greater as a painter when he painted the life of Christ, which was part of the later series of pictures he did.
Do you think the Philippines is creating an art which you can call exciting or dynamic? What do you think?
Based on the comments of foreign visitors, they felt that the dynamism of Filipino activity here, the creations, are among the exciting things going on in the world. As I was saying again, for instance, how could such an exciting city like Manila with all its creations not have at least an art magazine? That's what I meant by logistics and the dynamics of the situation. How will the world know about this? That's the best way.